Alright y'all, welcome back to Rome Reviews. I'm Rome and this is the Oppo FindN5. And what I'll say immediately is this is a review of the phone, but I will say right away that I do thoroughly enjoy this phone. I only have like a minor gripe or two about it, but what we're gonna do is just gonna jump in and go through the specs and what I like, what I don't like, what you can, what you can't do on this phone, and yeah, let's just get through it. So, first thing first, I think I covered the specs on this phone in the initial unboxing slash quick comparison of the Oppo FindN5 to the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro. So, but we'll go over it real quick, okay? So, the inside screen LTPO OLED, HDR10, 120 hertz, 1400 nits, and it says 2100 nits peak. And we'll touch on the brightness a little bit in a moment, but let's just keep rolling. The inside screen is 8.12 inches, which is the largest screen on a folding device at this moment. And you have the resolution at 2248 by 2480, which is basically a 2K resolution. I think that's 2K. I may be wrong. And you got 412 ppi. You do have stylus support on both screens. And Oppo does offer a stylus, although I didn't buy it only because I don't really use styluses. But either way, the team you do have the option there. But moving on, the outer screen is also LTPO OLED, HDR10, 120 hertz, 1600 nits, normal, and 2450 nits peak. Uh, and let's see, the outer screen is 6.62 inches with 1140 by 2616, which is a slim but really a really tall resolution, but also not as skinny as some other foldables. And you have 431 ppi on it. Uh, Android 15 with ColorOS layered on top of it. ColorOS 15. And let's see, you have the Snapdragon 8 Elite in here, but you do have a couple of cores that are dialed down, or maybe one core that's dialed down. I'm not sure. I'll say right now, while I'm on the topic, you do not notice it. You don't. Um, and this model that I have here is the 16 gig 512 gig storage on it. I think so. I'm pretty sure. All right, so jumping on to the cameras real quick. 50 megapixel wide, 50 megapixel periscope telephoto, and it does have a 3 times optical zoom, and it has an 8 megapixel ultra wide. Okay, and I know a lot of people have really been upset about the fact that they've basically downgraded the cameras in order to make it slimmer, and so we'll touch on that a little bit in a moment. Um, the video does record. I feel like that was wrong when I read that spec the last time. So let's look at the camera right now. Video, and this is the main sensor. We have 4K 30, 4K 60. We have 1080p 30, 1080p 60, and 720 30, which I'm not a videographer, so I don't know a reason. I really don't understand why they still put 720p on it. Maybe just so you can record smaller videos, so you can send them easier. Maybe. But yeah, so the camera has a lot of features on it, and yeah, we'll jump into that quite a bit in a little while. But anyway, moving over from the cameras, we're going to touch on the framing a little bit. So at the top, you'll see you have a speaker there, and you have like some, I guess, some sensors or something. I'm not sure, but I think this phone. No, I won't say I think. This phone does have an IR blaster, and I'm not sure which one of these it is, or if it's on the back. I'll figure it out in a little bit, but it does work. I tested it on my son's TV. Works really well. And then we'll jump over to the side. You'll see on the right side, you have the volume rocker and power button. And then you have my favorite slider, the alert slider. I love having this on my phones. You have it on here, and you have it on the Vivo X Fold, and you have it on the Oppo and OnePlus devices. And I think that's all that I have right now that has the alert slider on it. And I really love it. This one has a two-stage one where you can go to turn the alerts all the way on, to vibrate, to silent. And you can do it all with one button. I really love that. Some phones have it set up to where you have to push the volume button, and then You can push the button a couple of times to get to vibrating, then to silent, blah, blah, blah. I mean, not a deal breaker by any means, but it's always lovely just to have this slider where you can hit it real quick and be done. Yeah, that's really it. Oh, in the power button, also it is a fingerprint reader, and we'll touch on that in a moment as well. The bottom, you have a speaker. The speaker is on the same side of the screen. Sorry about that. The speaker is on the same side of the screen, and you have your USB-C port, and you have your SIM card tray here. So, jumping into the phone itself, let's go ahead, and I have my do not disturb on, so I'm not getting a bunch of notifications during this. Goodness gracious. If only I could talk right. But anyway, these screens, I will say they are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But what I mentioned earlier was I was going to touch on brightness a bit, and we'll get into that right now. So, as you can tell, I have the brightness maxed out, but it's not crazy bright. It looks beautiful. Actually, these screens are just beautiful, inside and out. Just nice, just lovely. But I will say that it is not as bright as you would think it is. You see how bright that. I hope that shows up for you guys, but you see how bright that Vivo is in comparison. Let's unlock it so you can get into the main screen. For comparison, you can see. Now I will say this screen has more clarity than the Vivo, but as far as brightness goes, just sheer brightness on inner and outer displays, the Vivo is just brighter. So just keep that in mind. But the Oppo does have this anti-reflective coating on the inside that helps a lot. It's not as intense as Samsung's, where it's just like Samsung's anti-reflective coating just really does a really good job. But this one does a nice job, and it does help with the lack of brightness. So yeah, just keeping that in mind. Just want to mention that for you guys. And it's weird because this phone is at max brightness, but it is not that bright. But anyway, moving on. Jumping into the software itself, there's a lot here. I'll say there's a lot here. And we'll just jump right into it. So, with Color OS, I will say that it's so different between the Oppo FindN5 and the Oppo Find X8 that I have here. And the reason I say that it's so different is, well, I won't say extremely different, but there are differences. Like, for instance, I cannot dial my screen up to get more than 4 icons on a row. And I think this is 4 by 6. I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 6, about 6 or 7, 4 by 6. I want to say, but either way, yeah, 4 by 6. But anyway, yeah, and as you can tell, I have a way that I like to lay my phone out. I like to have icons in certain locations, and I tried to lay it out as similarly as I could to my other phones that I have, but I just could not. And I could do the exact same on the Oppo Find X8, where I could lay it out 5 by, I think it's 5 by 7 or something like that. But I just like to have more icons on my screen than this, so this one has thrown me off a little bit, but nothing crazy. Continuing on, you have a lot of customization options here. You have your widgets, and even though this is the Chinese version, if you go to widgets and you see immediately you have like your Chinese widgets up there, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see home screen widgets. And I don't know why they labeled it like that, because I feel like all the widgets on this phone are home screen or that left side screen. But if you click on that, you'll see where your Google apps widgets will show up on this device. So just keep that in mind. You do have that option. I mean, of course, you can tell immediately because I have the Google Event Manager Control Center, whatever they call it, up there, and I have the Google search bar here, and I have my car app, and I have the turntable for YouTube music, and so on and so forth. But you do have that option here. And for wallpapers, you'll see you have your standard stuff here. You have your static, your classic, you have your live. You have your Color OS 15 specific wallpapers here. And you have these. so on and so forth. Really lovely. But what I'll say is, I wish that wallpapers took you into like the full suite. And what I mean by that is, if I go to settings, if it lets me go to settings, okay, and you go to wallpaper and style, you have the themes option there. And you have always on display and so on and so forth. And you have your icons and font, but you have your full suite that you can get to. So if you go to themes, what you can do is you will notice that you have a full setup here. And to go one step further, we can discard those, and you can go. These these are really cheesy to me, but we'll pick this one for example and apply it. And I'll show you what it means, where it sets up that full suite that I like, from your always on display to your lock screen to your home screen. So if I go out, lock it, it'll bring up that always on display. And if I unlock it, it does like a nice little animation into the lock screen. And then let's do that, and it takes you to your home screen. So always on display, lock screen, home screen. And I kind of like that. I like that a lot, actually. So going back in, let's keep moving with that. So you'll see here, you have quite a few, and then you can go online and download a bunch more. Now, I will say that when you jump online to download more things, it gets heavily Chinese. So just keep that in mind as you're working through here. Now, you do have a translator, a screen translator, where you can translate what you're seeing and just kind of work your way through the whole process of downloading things. But just keep in mind, I wanted to run this while I was talking, just so you see that it does take a moment to finally translate things for you. But it does. It does a nice job, and you can understand what it shows. All right, so going back, and you go into your always on display, you have your seamless and you have your classic. If you switch to classic, you can choose from these right here. But if you do seamless, it'll be really basic unless you have a always on display theme applied, if I'm not mistaken. Now if I choose this and I apply it, see, it switches over to classic. So just keep that in mind. All right, and let me go in and just apply anything. I just don't want that cheesy one on there. I did it for a little while when I first got the phone, just because I like that nice animation that you get. But yeah, it just they're so cheesy. But anyway, continuing on, you have a few fonts here, and that's really it. I think you can do more. Let's do more, and it takes you back to that store once again. It's going to get heavily Chinese on there. So unless you speak Chinese, you can open that screen translator and they help you through the process. There are some, just like anything on these phones, there are going to be free options, and there are going to be ones that you can purchase flat out. I have not gone through that process with Oppo in their store and how it works or whatever, but typically the free ones, they want you to install some app and run it for 15 seconds or watch an ad or something. But yeah, just keep that in mind. That's how that works typically. Not sure how that works on here. Icons. Now, what I do like about Oppo is they give you these right out of the box, where you can choose between these few different options. But you can go into custom and you can choose the shape. You can do foreground, how big you want the actual foreground to be. You can do the icon, how big you want those to be. And you can adopt system colors, or you can turn it off, turn it on, show apps names, and you can choose how big you want those to be. So it's just, there's so much customization options out of the box on this phone, and I really like it a lot. I do wish the wallpaper selection was a little bit better, but it's just a minor gripe. It's not a big deal. I mean, we download wallpapers off of the internet all the time, or for free or whatever. But anyway, moving on. Let's not say that. And you have your, let's see what colors is, because you can choose from your wallpaper colors or just the featured colors. And what it does is just it pulls the colors out of the wallpaper you have applied and just gives you a few different options. It's pretty straightforward. Edge lighting, you have it set up for your notification on your lock screen. I think that's the only place that I've noticed it on your, not lock screen, your always on display screen, where it does the edge lighting on the left and right sides of the screen. All right, And that's really it for, let me see, and make sure I'm not missing anything as far as customization goes. See, like some options in here will give you display size, adjust the app display size on the main screen. And you can go ahead and do that on a case by case basis, but I really haven't seen any need to do that, to be honest with you. Not so far anyway. Use the app in two different windows, and it gives you a couple options there, but there's not much there to work with. So I don't know. I think if you have a lot more Chinese apps on your phone, it'll give you a lot more options. But anyway, app optimization automatically optimize layouts of apps when you use them on the main screen. Yeah, it does automatically. It doesn't really give you. Let me see if that changes if I open it. Yeah, so no additional option. It just automatically does it. It's just a menu there to let you know that it is doing it, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. So back into it, taskbar, quickly switch between, and you show here, you can do floating or fix to the bottom. And floating, it just basically disappears when you're in the app unless you swipe up a little bit and it'll bring that taskbar up for you. Let's see, app library, recent files. So ooh, I know this is super random, but this is something I really appreciate for Oppo because OnePlus makes it a little more of a process when you want to sign up for their betas. But if you go to software update, it'll check. But anyway, you just skip over that and go to beta program. And what it'll automatically do is check your phone and see if it's eligible for a beta. And you'll see it pop up right there, release candidate. And it'll list your phone and it'll list the update that's available if there's one available. This one just happens to not be available for an open beta right now. But I really like that option because the OnePlus you have to go in and download the files and run them. I mean, it's not really strenuous, but you do have to go through the process of searching for it, the beta, and make sure you have the right version for your phone. So yeah, it's just a little bit more of a process. Nothing crazy. Moving on, let me see display brightness. I have mine on dark mode, blah blah, auto brightness. I have it turned off just for the sake of this video, but I keep it on normally. Screen color mode, typical stuff there. You have natural, pro, vivid, eye comfort, and sleep. I keep eye comfort on because I'm looking at phone. If a phone offers this for me, I turn it on every single time simply because I look at phones all day and I'm looking at different phones constantly. So yeah, I have that set in bedtime mode. Even goes a step further to where it changes the tint of the screen to even less, to strain your eyes even less. So I always keep that stuff turned on. You have adaptive tones that automatically adjust screen color temperature based on the ambient lighting conditions. I have it turned off because I'm not that much of a colorist or anything, or whatever the term is for that. I really don't care for the changing of colors and stuff based on my ambient lighting. I really don't. You have fun. It takes you back to the screen where I already looked at display size, small or standard. I set it to small because I was hoping that would let me fit in more apps, but it didn't really seem to help. And that's really the only option that you have for apps. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm not misspeaking. But when I went to home screen, lock screen, typically in home screen, lock screen, and you can find it also on the Oppo FindX8, there is a layout. I forgot the menu name, but it is like a home screen app layout option there where you could choose 4:6 or 4:7 or whatever. But it is not present here, and I don't know why. I'm hoping they add that option in the future because I really would love to be able to choose how many apps I have on my home screen. Anyway, moving forward, that's it for the settings customization. But if I go in here, and you get to your icons the same way here, transitions here, and I'll show you those real quick. You see, it just, you can do flip, and it gives you a few options. I actually like that a lot. I just keep it on default because, yeah. But anyway, if you go over here, you'll notice that the app folders have like these little handles in the lower right corner of them. And that's where you really can just, let me see if I have one on another screen, because I really didn't want to move one of my folders. But anyway, let's take this one over so I can show you what I mean. So if you grab the handle, you can go vertical, You can go horizontal, or you can just simply go into a big folder. And what that allows you to do is just simply clicking directly into an app. If I do not fat finger it, and oh, well, I'm still in the customization screen. If I come out of the customization screen and click on the app, it just allows you to click directly into the app, which is pretty cool. So let's put that back into small, and let's put it back on my screen where I had it. And you'll notice all those apps on my screen because I had it set up to where I was just dumping apps on my screen so I could organize them into my folders. And then once I hit a wall, and I was just like, huh, I kind of like what I have right now. So I just left it like it is and just never cleaned up these apps. So I almost never go onto these screens. But anyway, back to what we were doing. Let's see, anything else? We did widgets, we did wallpapers, icons, transitions. Okay. And let's see what more. It takes you back to the screen that I mentioned where you typically have that home screen app layout option there, but you don't. Quick lens available. I have it turned off because it's Chinese, but I'll turn it on for you just so you can see what it is. Quick lens to the left of your home screen. You have what's set up here. And yeah, I just didn't use any of this and I didn't understand it for the most part, so I just took it off. Just to save power and so on and so forth. So let's pinch more. Let's turn that back off. Global search is just where if you type in a search term, it searches your entire phone before moving on to the internet, I believe. And that's really it. You have a few more options here, but it's just all basic stuff, you know. So moving on, let me see the cameras. I am not going to spend a lot of time here. If you guys really want a future video on the cameras and you want to see samples and everything like that, I will do a video on that. But I would just say I enjoy these cameras. They have done a fairly decent job for me. Hold on, let me. I may just try to pop one or two on the screen for you. One moment. All right, so yeah, found a couple. So what I wanted to say was I was trying to do a portrait of my son, and he was just moving a lot. And you know, portraits take a moment, just a quick second to snap. But it has this weird, it had this weird shadowing effect that happened on the photo, and I'll pop that up on the screen for you guys to see real big. But I just found that to be odd. But what it did was it did capture some. It captures decent photos. It really does. And I even did the what's the? Let me see. The selfie one where you open it up and then use the main camera for your selfie, and that came out really nice. I'm not a fan of selfies, but I did try it out just to test it. Let me see. My son just being chaotic. One second. Oh, I did take it out and I was trying to use it for thumbnails for my one of my Vivo videos. And I mean, it did a really good job. It has nice separation, natural bokeh back there. I feel like it did a really good job. So overall, I'll say this, just to keep it short and sweet, because like I said, I'm not really big on cameras. As long as it takes decent pictures, I'm fine with it. So, and I am. Now, I will speak to the ultra wide. I do not use ultra wide, so that 8 megapixel camera does not bother me. Now, I know that that is a big deal, especially when you're spending money at this price range. You want all your cameras to be able to perform efficiently, perform well. So I get people's gripe about the ultra wide being 8 megapixels, but I've seen quite a few phones dial the ultra wide down because it just seems like it's not the most popular camera lens on these phones. But yeah, for me, didn't notice it, don't use it, so it doesn't bother me. But for you, it may be a deal breaker, and I completely understand that. So just keep that in mind. It is 8 megapixels, and you do notice it. So yeah. Moving on. Multitasking. I wanted to touch on multitasking. I actually really enjoy multitasking on this phone quite a bit because, and you can see I have these saved over here, my usual apps that I use, the pairs. But if you click that, hopefully nothing crazy pops up on my screen. All right, so Instagram, Shane Craig. Can the Galaxy Z Fold 7 compete with the Oppo FindN5? Ooh, I gotta watch that in a minute. Anyway, Instagram, and over here on the third video, I have threads. I mean, third video, third window, third app. I have threads. Nice. Okay, so I really love this because these are the main three apps I use, and I just switch back and forth between these real quick, and I have something playing, and you'll notice that it doesn't, even though I've moved over to the right side, the further right app, the video still keeps playing over here. I mean, and that's just a clip of the video. It's not the actual full video playing, but yeah, the apps stay active. Now, this one in the middle did stop for some reason, and you will see that, okay, if I go to subscriptions, whatever app I've touched on at that moment will be the active app that it'll go back on. They polish this really well. Now you can only do 3 apps at a time on these phones, and I mean on in this particular orientation. But you can, let's see if the Play Store will let me. It actually only gives me an option to replace it. So I was thinking that maybe you could pop up a fourth app, but I guess not. Let's see, photos. Yeah, so it only gives you the option to replace an app, which I mean that's still really nice. So and you could just do your regular duo apps. So like for instance, if I want to open, let's do YouTube, and then swipe up, and I want to open the phone. You see, you see how that works. So I mean, I love multitasking on this phone. It's really good, and then you get this crazy large screen on the inside, just insane. There's a lot of real estate that you have on this phone. And they've done a crazy good job. I am not gentle with this phone at all. As you can tell, I wipe my phones off constantly, and I'm not, I'm not softly wiping them at all. I am putting pressure on this thing, and I'm not afraid. Now, I will say this: I've enjoyed this phone. I open and close it constantly, and I did that with my Pixel 9 Pro 4, and every time I open this thing, it just I was getting to the point where it made me feel nervous. Oh, now that I'm holding this thing after a little while of using the Oppo FindN5, this thing feels heavy and thicker. That's crazy. Because I really felt like this was a thin phone. Like, uh. Anyway, moving on. Um, yeah, the Pixel 9 Pro 4, I had started getting slightly afraid of opening it. I was just fully expecting it to crack at any moment. Just seeing the horror stories. Foldables are fragile, so I mean by nature, just because of all of the moving parts in it, it's such a small package. But I have no fear of opening this device at all. I mean none. This thing feels solid, and for it to be so thin, it just feels solid in hand. And I'm thoroughly impressed with what Oppo has done with this phone. Um, um, okay, so Antutu benchmarks. This is my first time running a benchmark ever, ever. So, and I don't think that it saved my results from when I ran it. Ah, that makes me kind of sad. I was fully expecting it to save. Did I screenshot it just in case? You get I don't know, there's seasons, there's coastline. I don't know what any of this means. I just ran it because I know people care about benchmarks and stuff. So you can see on screen FPS 44.34 off screen. I don't even know what off screen is. I mean I guess there's parts of the scene that you're not actually seeing on the screen, but you get 35 off on screen, 49 for the coastline, and off screen 40. I will say that I have not gamed on this phone yet since I don't know. I just haven't gamed on here yet. All right, sorry about that. Memory card got full. That's what happens when you're cheap. I just need to buy a really large memory card. Anyway, I was saying that I haven't really gamed on this phone mainly because I haven't really had a lot of time to really test gaming. But I will say the benchmark. I'm pretty sure the benchmark tells the story, and it'll be smooth. I'm almost certain of it, but I will test it out in the future. If you guys really want to see how gaming works on this phone, I will do that. I think the only thing, battery, battery. I will say I know a lot of people feel how they feel about the battery being smaller and the thinner packaging of this device and everything and the sacrifices that they made, but this battery, I would take this thing off the charger the previous day at bedtime and just lay there and doom scroll a little bit and then go to sleep. I would not pop this thing on a charger until the next day at nighttime, maybe. I may even let it ride until like the next morning or whatever if I absolutely have to charge it. But I end the day normally around 50, 60%. And I mean that's even with me taking off the charger the previous night. So I have no issues with battery on this device. Even with me installing all of the Google services and Google apps and everything that are power hungry, yeah, I've had no issues with this battery. I know that people feel like the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro has a larger battery, so therefore it's better. But I got FunTouch OS on this one, and this battery is not great. That's really just in combination with FunTouch OS just not being the most efficient when it comes to battery draw. So anyway, battery life is really great on here. I don't know the size. Let me look up the size of this battery really quickly. I didn't even look up the size because I just like the size of the battery matters to a certain extent, yes, but it really relies heavily on the OS and how efficient it is, how efficiently they built it. So this is a 5600 milliamp battery, and this thin of a phone, that's crazy. I think that's even bigger than what Samsung offers. I mean, and they're foldables. So, eh, I just wouldn't get too bent out of shape about that number. I really wouldn't. Yep. So yeah, I'm running low on battery. So let's try to wrap this up really quickly because my camera is flashing at me. Overall, this is a easy phone to recommend to anybody. This is a great phone, packaged greatly. Hardware is solid. Cameras are decent. If you don't consider the ultra wide, I know it's part of the package. I get it. I get it. I really do. Selfie cameras are really good on both inside and out. Not a big selfie guy, but I do like the output of the photos for the selfie cameras. Yeah, software is great. Everything. Oh, yeah. The only thing I didn't touch on was the fingerprint reader being on the power button on this phone. For some reason, it's super sensitive. Even though I'm left-handed, I bump it and put it in my pocket sometimes. When I take it out of my pocket, it's telling me that, hey, you need to wait 30 seconds before you can unlock it, or you just type in your code. That drives me crazy a little bit, but that's a minor gripe. It's not a deal breaker for me by any means. I would prefer that the fingerprint reader be in the screen on both outer and inner. Vivo has spoiled me with that feature, but anyway, easy phone to recommend. If you're in the market, get it. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Unless you want to wait and see what the year brings with other foldables like Honor Magic and so on and so forth. But anyway, easy recommend. Yes, this is a go. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If there's anything that you want me to cover specifically on this phone, let me know in the comments. All right. See you guys in a little bit. Later.